From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson. And we're currently waiting for Hector Bosa to call in through the hotline so he can join us. So, in the meantime, it looks like I'm going to have to go solo for the time being. So, let's start off with what happened over the weekend in baseball. The Mets seem to be doing reasonably well. 5-game winning streak, including a sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks. But what was the main story about the Mets weekend was the mysterious appearance of a certain rodent in the bowels of the Mets clubhouse at Citi Field. People who saw the game, I think it was game 1 of the Diamondbacks series this past Friday night, they saw that footage of Mets players suddenly scurrying into the dugout to see what was going on because they thought that there was some kind of commotion. But as it turns out, Luis Rojas and Francisco Lindor admitted that that there was probably a rat or a raccoon or maybe a possum that might have been scurrying about in the bowels of Citi Field. I don't know about you guys, but I just think this is much ado about nothing. But whatever it is that's been causing the Mets' 5-game winning streak, I hope it continues because they seem to be peaking at the right time. I mean, they haven't been blasting the ball or anything like that, but it's been really good pitching that's been carrying the Mets. And for 2 straight games, Friday night and Saturday night, the Mets bullpen really carried the Mets all the way. And I'm hearing the phone ring right now, and I'm assuming that it's Hector right now. Is that you, Hector? Hector, is that you? Hector, can you hear us? Hector, can you hear us? Well, it looks like we have a little bit of a technical difficulty here, so we're going to see once again if Hector can call into the show. Well, there has been one thing that kind of marred the Mets' weekend, and that was Jacob deGrom getting hurt again, unfortunately. He wound up suffering from some pain. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you are.
You're excused. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that.
It's just that I heard a banging noise coming from the telephone.
You know where that's from? That's from all the women I'm knowing.
Oh, will you stop?
I'm telling you.
Cut it out, please.
I'm sorry you had to hear that.
Cut it out.
No, I don't want to cut it out. I'm just doing
No,
it.
you need to cut it out.
For you.
This whole thing has become extremely old.
You just want to, right? Instead of going, okay, fine.
Because it's ludicrous.
No problem. You have to go on and babble on and babble on.
I don't babble, first of all. And second of all, you need to stop with these lies.
How untrue it is.
How many times do I have to keep telling you that there are no women? No woman likes you.
Oh, dear God. They see you're even choking because it's true. So, beyond that, since I just came in Anyway, the
You're
hottest,
an idiot.
sexiest man on cable access TV has called you because you're in need of something.
What do I need? I don't need anything right now.
Besides a new brain, to convince yourself to stop being jealous of me.
I told you before, I am not jealous of you. I am not jealous of someone that reeks of beer.
Like that. Jesus. Oh my goodness gracious, that's all jealousy going talking.
No, it's not jealousy talking.
That was
That's you
not
talking.
jealous. I don't get. This is a sports show. What are you doing?
And you're turning it into a sideshow.
I am not saying nothing. I'm trying to talk about sports. I'm trying to find out about things that are happening now because the Yankees seem to be in a strong position to be doing something right. So, are the Yankees doing anything of the wrong or right now that are holding them back from continuing on? Because there are some people that are just injured, just like from the Mets standpoint.
They're both holding on. Let's put it that way. And
are
they're
they
holding
barely
on because
breathing?
of the pitching.
Are they barely breathing because DJ LeMahieu was gone or is gone? So tell me about LeMahieu still being gone, and then bringing up the gentleman that pitched that same day.
Well, you're probably talking about the kid that they wanted to acquiring from their minor league club.
Yes.
Oh.
So he did well, I'm assuming. Did he win that game?
I think that it might have been somebody else that might have won the game.
Because wasn't it wasn't it Herman pitching that game?
Yeah, Domingo Germán started, and he pitched very well, 6 1/3 innings.
Now, how did the crowd react to him?
They didn't.
They didn't?
They didn't. All they did was just go about their merry way, and whenever he got a strikeout, they cheered for him.
Good. That's good. So tell me, why do you say the Yankees are barely breathing?
I didn't say they were barely breathing. I said they're hanging in there. They're hanging in there because of their pitching.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are they just hanging in there? Aren't they doing right? I mean, they just won a 3-2 game.
Well, they still have guys in the batting order that are slumping badly right now, and Gleyber Torres just got his first home run of the season, a month into the season. And it seems like the only guy who's snapping out of his slump is Giancarlo Stanton.
That's right. He's been hitting, and then they gave him a day off.
Mm-hmm.
So that he won't break.
Gave him a day off, and he won yesterday's game with a single.
And wow. Can you believe that the man is hitting? But let's hope he can continue to do this.
Well, I've always believed that he's been a terrific hitter. It's just a matter of him fine-tuning some mechanics in his swing.
And also him being injured.
And also being hurt the entire time
that's
that
true.
He's been here.
Because he's always hurt or injured or something of that nature. And, you need him besides Sanchez? Sanchez is another one. Do you see Sanchez coming out of this alive by him continuously go slumping for long periods of time, or do you see him improving to the point where you'll be like, I'm safe with him?
He still has a chance to be a good player in this sport. And if he continues to hit long home runs the way he did in this series, then he'll have a strong possibility of snapping out of a slump.
Well, he is one of the best catchers in the league when he's on.
Mm-hmm.
He is one. His his defensive wise, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But they're always talking about his hitting more than his catching abilities. He's still a young man too. He's not an old man.
Oh yeah, I mean he's not even approaching his 30th birthday yet.
Exactly, and the thing is, how many years? That's a good question for you. Who has been the longest catcher in the league so far?
The longest serving catcher?
Yeah.
Yadier Molina. He's been around 16 years now.
Wow. And he's still catching.
I mean, he's not playing every day as much as he did in his earlier days, but he's still he could still rake the ball.
Because, a lot of times, at a certain point, you always hear, oh, we got to transition him to first base. Oh, we have to transition him to the outfield.
He's not a first baseman.
I'm just saying, because that's what they did with Johnny Bench. And, even
that's what
Pete
they tried
Rose,
to do with Mike Piazza, and it failed miserably.
Yeah, Piazza was, and the other guy from the Mets too. He went from catching to first base. From catching to the outfield. Remember the one that the ball went over his head because he misplayed it?
You must mean Todd Hundley.
Yeah, that was horrible. But there are
just goes to show you that there are certain ball players who play a certain position that should stay at that position.
Yeah, but if the thing is, because there's no DHing, and a lot of times, you're in the game, you're all the time, but first thing that goes is the knees. And like I said, perfect example for those people that know Johnny Bench.
Mm-hmm.
He went from catcher to the outfield to first base. Or was it catcher, first base, outfield? It all depends. And he was very good in all. He was good at first base. And they say most catchers are very good first basemen. Because they know how to, except for you have to be happy feet on first base too. But they know how to block the ball at first.
Mm-hmm.
More than nothing. But also, there have been other catchers that have made the transition because of their knees. And now with the new equipment that they do have, because now the new pads that they have for the back pads for that hold the quads, they put it on the quads,
right,
and it hits the calf muscle. Those are knee pads that can save your knees for a while too.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it's something with them. But all in all, the Yankees have. You said it from the beginning of the season that the Yankees have good pitching and that they would hold out better than the hitting.
Yeah.
And right now, do you feel that they may go after another bat soon if they're not hitting properly?
Wouldn't surprise me if they did.
And who would you get?
either a center fielder or maybe another catcher. That's just my personal opinion.
Don't they have two other catchers already?
Yeah, Higashioka and Sanchez.
And they don't have a third backup catcher.
Not at the moment, no.
Or a utility fielder. Normally he catches too. Well, that would be Gio Urshela too.
Mm-hmm.
But how about a guy by the name of Brandon Belt from San Francisco Giants? Would you think he would fit in?
He would definitely fit in with that batting order.
Because I just sent you a list of all possible major league trade deadlines for this year, the predictions, the big names who will be up for grabs this year. And, because what's his name from California was let go.
Albert Pujols, you mean?
Yeah, Albert Pujols.
Yeah, designated for assignment. This goes back to him being benched for a game and Pujols blowing his top and basically ripping the manager to pieces.
Because he was out for one game?
All because he was out for one game. He did not like being benched.
And this was his last year anyway of his 10-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't been a bad hitter either.
I mean, he wasn't terrible. I mean, he had 30 to 40 home run seasons throughout the duration of his contract.
And he's been a good hitter. Maybe, who knows? Right now, would you want him as a Yankee?
I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, because if you look at his numbers, they really don't scream somebody who would warrant being an everyday player anymore, especially as a designated hitter.
And
I doubt he would want to be a pinch hitter.
Well, that's another thing too. When you've played a position for so long, and let's say you're a DH, they say they want you to be a DH hitter. That's hard to come off, hit, and for some people they make it easy. For some people, it's very hard to just come out and say, okay, hit.
Yeah.
Some people, they have to be in the game. They have to be in the game so that they can hit the damn ball. Because the minds aren't set. The minds have to be set all the time. They'll take extra VP practice. Sometimes they'll go down to the clubs and just hit the damn ball. Just to keep in shape sometimes, because in their minds they're playing. In their minds they still have to play the game in their heads.
Yeah.
So that they don't get bored. Now, there's been a lot of great DH hitters that just come up, hit, and voila, that's it. They're done. They just come in, sit down, and do whatever they have to do next.
Yeah. Edgar Martinez and David Ortiz are two people that come to mind.
And did anybody pick up Cespedes this year?
No one.
Was it because wasn't that intriguing to people, or the fact that what happened with him? Do you know?
I think he's 100%. I just don't feel that anybody has any interest in him.
Oh, that showcasing that he tried to do. It didn't work out.
I guess not.
He probably wanted an abundance of money, probably, or
It could be.
who knows. And the Mets the same way right now. Are they barely breathing too, or they're hanging on a string?
They're also hanging in there. And that, too, is because of their pitching.
Well, we always said that their pitching was going to be good this year if they clicked properly.
Well, unfortunately, they may have to go one start without Jacob deGrom because he got hurt again.
Yeah, he's having an MRI done.
Yeah. They say he may not have to go on the injured list, but he may have to miss a start.
Yeah. And, besides him going out, have you heard anything else of importance that the Mets are doing any trades or staying
Not a
put
word.
where they are?
They're staying put as is.
Do you think they'll make a trade for anybody?
Wouldn't be surprised if they did.
For what, though? A pitcher or a
It would
hitter?
definitely be for another pitcher. Because to be quite honest with you, after Jacob deGrom, I mean, having to go with guys like Tommy Hunter, who went 2 innings the other night as an opener instead of a starter, and also Taijuan Walker, who is okay, but I'm not sure if he can be trusted for a pennant race.
They were cold.
And then there's the guys that are still on the injured list that we're hoping would make their way back soon, like DJ Carrasco and Noah Syndergard. Syndergard, of course, if I'm not mistaken, is clear to resume throwing.
Both of them are one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Huh?
No, I was talking about Noah Syndergard.
Yeah, what's going on with him?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was cleared to resume throwing. So they may or may not have him do a minor league assignment. And if so, they might have him do maybe 2 or 3 starts.
Right. And that's why you think they'll go for another pitcher?
Yeah, because quite honestly, they're not too sure about Syndergaard at this point. And there's also the matter of DJ Carrasco. DJ Carrasco is also on the injured list, and they don't know when he's going to be returning.
Yeah. So that's why you think they need another pitcher?
Yeah. And then there's the guys that they have on their roster right now. Taijuan Walker, who is okay, but I'm not sure can be trusted for a start in the pennant race. Joey Lucchesi was a bust, and he is now in the bullpen right now and doing reasonably well.
Yeah, well, you know why they have, you understand now, sometimes when the pitchers, they use the pitchers that are in the bullpen to start. You already know that what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been used so much. They haven't been used for so long that they go and say, you know what, let's start the guy, and then we'll bring in the actual pitcher of that day, or they'll just use the reserves because the next day they have off or they have 2 days off. Sometimes they do that as well. They have an off day or 2. So they'll pitch the guys because they haven't pitched in a while. And they'll throw them in for those occasions.
Right.
So in that point, I'll say that's tough, though. That's a tough situation for them. Now, who do you think is out there that's available for them?
Not anybody of substance, to be honest with you. And I'm looking at this thing right now.
Why don't you eat the fish first? Don't worry about me. Yeah. But
There's some really good-looking names here that are being mentioned as possible trade chips. Trevor Story, Chris Bryant, Max Scherzer, who pitched great against the Yankees over the weekend. Joey Gallo, Starling Marte.
Don't worry about me. Do that.
Eduardo Escobar. Brandon Belt, you mentioned before. Johnny Cueto. Maybe Johnny Cueto could be used as a trade chip.
Well, it all depends. Because the list that I sent you about the possible big trades, you should check that out. It's something to see. Just scroll down the names. It's a sight to see. But while do that, and I'll ask you a question.
All right.
About the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks.
Okay.
How many games left before they go into the playoffs?
Let's see. If I'm not mistaken, the Nets have another 4 games.
Yeah.
Before the playoffs begin. They have a road game in Chicago, and then they have a 3-game homestand to end the season.
And
as far as the Knicks are concerned,
yes.
Let me see here. The Knicks have another 4 games before their season ends. And if the season were to begin right now, they would be the number 4 seed. And the Nets would be the number 2 seed.
Who would be the number 2? Oh, the Nets would be the number 2?
The Nets would be the number 2 seed. And for the record, the Sixers would be the number 1 seed.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Who's their starting 5 again?
For the Sixers?
Yeah, because they have Doc Rivers.
Yeah, and Doc Rivers has done a terrific job with this team.
Even though they were a good team to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
They were a good team to begin with. But who do they have that they're number 1 right now besides the coach? Or do they need Doc Rivers to get them over that hump?
I think it was a combination of both, to be honest with you. Let's see here. Joel Embiid, of course. Dwight Howard.
Who was supposedly going to go to the Lakers again.
Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, and Tobias Harris. That's your starting 5.
And that's a good solid 5.
Yeah.
Do you think the East is still the weakest league in the East? And the West still has it over the East, or has the East finally picked up their game?
I still think the West is better, to be honest with you. In fact, I think that there are maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 teams, 5 teams in the Western Conference that could probably win the whole thing.
Which ones?
The Jazz, Nuggets, Clippers, Suns, and Lakers. Don't sleep on the Lakers. Just because they're a number 7 seed doesn't mean you count them out.
This is true. This is true because when it comes to the playoffs, another switch comes over, and they play like maniacs. When it comes to another, you have your games, and then you just have the playoffs. Are the Knicks still in way of playing the Celtics, or who are they playing?
If the season started now, the Knicks would play the Hawks.
Oh, the Atlanta Hawks. So
Yeah.
they won't play the Celtics then, because last time we talked about this, they were tied between the Hawks and the Celtics.
Well, now the Celtics have fallen down to all the way down to 7th place.
Okay, so the Knicks have a better shot at winning.
A first-round series, that is.
And then that would really humble you.
But then they would have to run into the Sixers in the second round, and I think the Sixers would hammer them.
Well, again, as I said before, do I expect them to make the playoffs? Yes. Do I expect them to advance? In the beginning, I said no. But maybe they do have a chance. Maybe they will advance, but will they win? And I also predicted that they may not win a championship this year. They're not built. I don't think they're built for that yet. But if whatever they do, they're going to have to improve next year. And hopefully by them going as far as they can, maybe players will want to play for that team now, because now they say, well, that team is a good team. That's a playoff material now. Now, there was another list that you read, and you sent me a text back.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Lamar Ball will go over there. Maybe Damian Lillard. Who knows?
Not Damian Lillard.
No,
Damian Lillard is not
DeRozan.
leaving Portland.
DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan,
Yeah.
maybe.
You know, depending upon how old he is and if he still has what it takes. But now the Knicks are getting a lot of attention now.
I'd stay away from DeMar DeRozan, though. He's not a great player.
Yeah, his three-point shooting hasn't been the greatest in his years. But he still can play the game.
Yeah.
He still can give you that, because, you know, right now, the biggest things were they were saying get rid of Peyton and the other guards and forwards, just get rid of them. But they've made the team. That's how the team has been built, with those guys. So do you sign them next year, or do you try to go for something better? And if so, from the people that you know that are going to be out there next year, who do you think they should sign, and who do you think will sign with them?
Who should they sign?
Yeah.
Well, I think they should go after a veteran guard who's been through the playoff wars. And this is where Kyle Lowry comes in. Kyle Lowry has a championship with the Raptors. So I think they should try and make a play for Kyle Lowry.
For next year.
Who
now,
are
how
they?
old is he?
Kyle Lowry, if I'm not mistaken, is 34 years old.
The Knicks may want to go after a younger guy like Ball.
Which is understandable because to be quite honest, Ball is a lot flashier type of player, and he's also a real good chemistry type of player. A lot of people don't know this, but he's connected really well with Zion Williamson. And chemistry between a point guard and a power forward and a big man is really critical in a game like this.
But when he's on, first of all, Zion Williams got to be on the court, because he's out again with a fractured finger. And the other thing is, the team has so many good guards that next year he's gone. That's why, and his father, who I don't know if he still has some influence on him, is saying that he should play for the Knicks. His father wants him to play for the Knicks. Now, he's a grown man already.
Yeah, I mean, he should be able to follow his own way.
And they do have the money to pay him for next year if he decides to want to play for the Knicks. That's another thing. You know, like I said, there's going to be a lot of guards out there next year. And, you know, what do you do? So you're saying to go for Kyle instead of Ball? Do you think they have a good chance of getting Kyle instead of Ball?
They might have a slight chance of getting Kyle Lowry. The one thing that could be swaying him away from the Knicks is his hometown team, the 76ers. He might want to play for his hometown team. He's already won a championship with the Raptors. Maybe he wants to finish his career at home.
I wouldn't blame him if he can play for the Sixers and the Sixers want him and they're going to be able to use him properly. I would go back home if they were going to use him wisely. But sometimes going back home doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a good time.
No.
You know, so like I said, there's going to be a lot of guards this year, a lot of forwards, not too many centers. They're still talking about Karl Anthony Towns leaving. And again, they're talking about the Knicks getting him because Robertson's always hurt, and he could play forward as well.
Not only that, but does he really want to put up with any more losing in Minnesota? How long has he been in a Timberwolf? 5 years?
Yeah.
And he hasn't sniffed one single playoff game.
Like being a virgin. But it's true. Think about it. He hasn't gone. And he did. Now, have you heard that he wanted to leave? Have you heard any information that he's wanting to go?
Not that I've heard, but don't be surprised if he does decide to end his time in Minnesota and go someplace else.
So do you think the Nets or the Knicks have potential to get him? And if so, where does he land?
I think the Nets more so than the Knicks because the Nets really need an intimidator in the middle that could probably get a lot of buckets as well.
And they have an all-star team. They have an all-star team as well. Plus, the only thing that's holding back the Nets is if they can pay for him.
Yeah.
Do they have the salary cap to pay him?
There's one issue, though.
Huh?
There's one issue. Karl Anthony Towns is not much of a defender.
With all them other guys playing, they're defenders. Because the guy that's playing center right now, he's normally a forward. He's a damn good defender. And some of them other guys, like Harden, will give you some type of defense. And when KG's there, he'll give you some defense too. So you couldn't get away with it. If the other players around you have some type of decent defense, yeah, they'll get around to it. That's okay. It's not like they're all offensive players. They actually play a defensive game as well.
Well, let's put it this way. New York has now become a slowly blossoming place to play basketball.
Even with the damn owner. Even with that garbage of an owner that we have.
In spite of that prick of an owner that we have.
Yeah.
It's become a real slowly but surely blossoming place to want to play basketball for a living.
For now, until the owner decides to put his foot in there and do something stupid, because you notice you don't hear about him anymore.
Well, now he's put his foot in his mouth again because he fired not only the general manager, but the president of the Rangers.
Oh, my God.
John Davidson is gone.
What did he do?
He got desperate. That was his problem. I mean, the Rangers made the postseason last year, And he was expecting them to win the Stanley Cup final this year, but they didn't come close. The Rangers season is over.
But they've made it years before, right?
Years before, yes.
Like last year, the year before?
No, the year before they didn't make the playoffs. Last year they did.
Okay, so you explain to me, because you've seen them as well as much as I have, or even more so. Just explain to me, why do you think he fired him? Besides him being a nut job. Why do you think he fired him?
He fired them because he thought that the two men underachieved. Well, he thought that the Rangers mostly underachieved this season, and he wanted to look for scapegoats. So one of the scapegoats that he found was John Davidson.
And he's willing to sell. You know what's funny? He's willing to sell. Oh, my God. There's a rope. I mean, what I was going to say was that, now who's out there for the Rangers to get? And are the Rangers that bad?
They're not terrible. They've got some really, really good young players that they can build with for the future. As far as who's out there to be the president and the general manager, your guess is as good as mine.
There's nobody out there that you can think of, because right now, do you think that was a reasonable move, or they should have just kept with him next year, see how he does, and then fire him?
It was an awful, awful, awful move that Dolan made, firing those two men.
I wonder who spoke to him.
Probably one of his little yes men.
I'm telling you, because I was going to say he's willing to trade the Rangers. He's willing to trade the Rangers. No, what was it? He's willing to trade the Knicks if you buy the Rangers as well.
There isn't anybody, even with the deepest of pockets, that would want to buy both of those franchises.
People are willing to buy the Knicks.
They'll buy the Knicks, but will they buy the Rangers?
If they think that they can get a good write-off, a tax write-off, maybe. Or if there's actually a guy that likes hockey and that'll go and say, you know what, he'll bring back John Davidson, let's say, and say, okay, you have about 4 years to build this team. If you don't do something in 4 years, you're done. Something like that, because that's what normally happens. How long was John Davidson there for?
4 years.
Look at that. Now, isn't that? Don't you now? Now do you understand the pattern? They may sign you for 5 or 6, but let's say in 3 years, that fourth year, you better do something. Or as in other words, the Jets, they give you 3 years to do something. If you don't do something in the third year, you're done.
Yeah.
You could look at the Jets' head coaching job.
Oh,
there haven't been that many people that's been there for more than 5 years.
Nope.
So this is why I'm sure there's someone out there, but they're not willing to take both teams. They just want to take one team. Because a lot of people want to buy the New York Knicks. And there are some people that want to buy the Rangers.
If anybody wants to buy the Knicks, I wish them the best of luck, because quite frankly, they need it.
They don't want, but like I said, people want to buy one or the other. They don't want to buy both. And that's the thing. Dolan said at one point that he's willing to sell them as long as they buy both teams. And that's it. They have to buy both or nothing. And there's no one out there that's willing to buy both teams.
Imagine getting rid of Dolan and actually getting someone that's actually worth it.
You know, I was just thinking.
What a dream that would be.
Yeah.
But remember, there's always someone worse, too.
Yep.
There's always someone worse.
Do you know that just recently the Minnesota Timberwolves were bought by Alex Rodriguez and a group of partners?
Yeah, and one of the players didn't know who he was.
I thought it was Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards had no clue who he was. But you know what? I'm thinking it would be really something if someone along the lines of A-Rod or maybe even Derek Jeter were to buy the Knicks or the Rangers or both if they have deep enough pockets. But this is a good $1 or $2 billion that we're talking about here that needs to be forked over to try and get both franchises.
There's enough people out there that are willing, that they have the money. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there. You just don't hear about some of them. We hear about Bill Gates. We always hear about Elon Musk. We hear about a couple of people, but we don't hear about all the people. The guy from Amazon, Jeff Bezos, that's all you hear. But you don't hear about the underlings that are quiet, that buy stuff. You don't hear about those guys. You always hear about those guys. But it's just funny. It would be a dream if they can get a good owner. That'd be great. Because the guy that owns the Clippers, he's something. He's a pisser.
You mean Steve Ballmer?
Yeah.
He's the best thing to happen to the Clippers since that other idiot left.
What's the guy that's on the Sharks? The TV show The Sharks. I forgot his name.
Oh, you're talking about the guy that runs the Mavericks, right?
Yeah, the Mavericks. He's passionate with his team, at least.
He's great for the league.
Huh?
He's great for the league.
I mean, even though he goes overboard, and it's almost sometimes, and he gets very passionate, but, you know, sometimes you need people like that. It's a shame that we have, I mean, even though there's a lot more owners that we don't hear about that are terrible, because, like I said, look at the poor baseball team, the Marlins. I mean, and some of them other ones that they normally lose, or in 3 years they break up the team because they can't afford that player, or they don't want to play that player. Mm-hmm. They don't care about the World Series. The fans aren't going to those ballparks, even though they're nice, but they're not going to them. You know, is Florida a baseball team? Did they put the parks in the right places? Or should they have gone to, let's say, Orlando, or Miami? You know?
Do you want me to answer that for you?
Shoot.
It was a bad, sacrilegious idea to tear down the Orange Bowl in Miami in favor of a 30,000-seat stadium just for the Marlins. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, Miami has never been a baseball town, ever. I've gone there so many times, and I've taken in a couple of games. I took in a Marlins game against the Cubs when Sammy Sosa was there.
Yeah.
In fact, it was the same year that the Marlins beat the Cubs to win the pennant in the famous Steve Bartman series. And then 2004, when the Marlins played the Mets, each time there were nothing but empty seats at Landshark Stadium.
It's probably they built it too. It's probably where they built it, because Miami, I think it's more of a college football team than anything. You have about 3 colleges out there.
Yeah,
That's just
Miami,
nothing about
Florida
football.
International, and Miami-Dade Community College.
Yeah, and not just there. You would figure that somewhere in Florida there'd be a lot of population of baseball, players that want to go, or teams, because I can't see Las Vegas getting a baseball team.
Technically, they already have one. It's called the Las Vegas. I think the Las Vegas Aces.
But they're a minor league system, right?
Yeah, they're a minor league team.
And how do they do? That you know of? Are they? That's the whole point. Why did they pick Miami, even though that's a thriving place to be in? And how come baseball's not catching there? Is it because the players are that bad, or is it because they're expecting too much? Trying to get more people out there than...
Generally, the players are good, but
they're no names.
Collectively, they just can't seem to put it together at all.
They have no names, and when they do, they can't pay them.
Yeah.
They can't pay them, and that's one place. I think. Do you think if they would put a team in Orlando?
Orlando would be interesting because I think the fan base there is a little bit more fine-tuned than in Tampa or in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, minor league, you have the minor leaguers out there when the Yankees go there for a pregame and preseason.
Mm-hmm.
They get a lot of people there, but that doesn't mean that if they had a real team, they have to have a good team to get people out there. But I'm sorry to hear that John Davidson and so forth had to leave because I'm sure. I mean, do you think they should have kept him considering his track record? Of
course. John Davidson was brought to the Rangers for a reason, and that was to try to rebuild the franchise.
And he was there for 4 years.
And he was there 4 years.
And did he rebuild the team that he was supposed to, or was
they're still in
team didn't...
they're still in the rebuilding process? And you know what? This draft that's coming up is going to be extremely critical because wherever they're going to place is going to determine whether they're going to get another franchise player or not. Last year, they were really lucky because their record was not terrible enough for them to get the first overall pick, yet they still got the ping pong balls to bounce their way, and they still wound up getting the first overall selection, which turned into Alexis Lafreniere. And he had a very, very good rookie season. And you couple that with Mika Zibanejad, who led the team in goals. The Rangers have a duo who could probably lead them to the next level for the next 3 or 4 years.
So, do you think it was right that the NBA went to this type of choice without the balls this year, or they're set up for the NBA draft? Do you think it's better?
You mean without ping pong balls?
Yeah.
I would have preferred the ping pong balls, personally.
Yeah, but isn't it a disadvantage, even though, let's say, there's 14 balls for the last place team and, 12 balls for the second to last place team and so on? If you're a last place team and you pick, let's say, fifth, and you were a dumper that year, then you should be able to get at least one of the top 3, not top 5, at least. And they also did it because they don't want people to automatically just dump.
Yeah.
So that they can, we're not winning this year, we might as well lose. Because the league must have heard they're just losing. they just want to lose this year. And they would penalize them if they did. But I haven't heard of a team being caught out there wanting to lose on purpose. Have you?
Not that I know of.
So this is why, even though the commissioner was saying, hey, we don't want people to lose intentionally. Now, that's why they set up the system. And I'm not crazy about it, but it makes a little sense, too, because you don't want you want them to try an effort to win.
Yeah.
And not just lose, but all in all. And how about the Islanders? Any word from them?
Yeah, the Islanders made the playoffs, so they're going to be going into the first round. Who the opponent is, I'm not really sure. I could probably find that out for you right now.
Go ahead. And do they have a chance of...
Speaking of whom, the Islanders are playing Boston right now, and the Bruins have a 1-0 lead after one.
What do you think the chances of them? Since they are
as far as winning the Stanley Cup final, I just don't see it. Now, as far as them maybe winning a series, possibly.
Mm. And the Devils?
Devils are one of the worst teams in the league. As a matter of fact, I think they might be the worst team in the league. Yep. Worst team in the league, 15, 34, and 7. But at least they're building with some young players that can allow for them to contend for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you hope. You hope like everything else. Let me ask you, is this still a New York Knicks town, or has it converted to a Brooklyn Nets town?
I think slowly but surely the people in Brooklyn have become big-time Nets fans.
But have they embraced them as the number one team to talk about, or still the Nets the number one team to talk about?
If you compare the stars on each team, you would think that the Nets would be the team to talk about. But to be quite honest with you, I think the Knicks are still running the show here.
Yeah. Even though the Nets have an all-star team, they have an all-star team. If you see them, they're a bunch of all-stars.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would happen if the Nets won a championship? Does that mean all the attention would sway over to their side, or would it still be a Knicks town?
Well, here's what I think, and maybe this is true, or
okay,
maybe
make
not.
it quick because you have 90 seconds.
All right. It's depending upon how they do in the playoffs and who they start getting and how they progress. Because they would be a young team, and the Nets would get older and older. That's how I can explain that.
Well, there you go. By the way, I want to continue with my countdown. We're just 9 episodes away from our 700th episode.
And I am about that much away from getting that many ladies left.
You are a moron.
You're just jealous. Now
no,
say goodbye.
I am not jealous. You're a
say
moron.
Say goodbye.
Thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the glass. And thanks to Hector on the phone. For everyone here, I'm Jamie.
Jealous Jamie. And my name is Hector Bosa. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.
We hope to see you next time. And we hope to see you during playoff time as well. Good night, everyone.
Night.